Hey guys, welcome to Action Learning 101. And this video is made in an attempt to sort of really give you the tools so that if you want to use Action Learning as a defined problem-solving method in your meeting structure, that you can. This is a very powerful method that works both leadership development and allows for inclusive participation. So the norms of Action Learning are there. And one of the important parts of these norms is number 2, that if you're the Action Learning coach, you have the right to say, okay guys, let's stop. And let's talk about what's happening. Are we functioning well as a group? Are we functioning poorly? How can we adopt, change, or get better? So the beginning of the Action Learning meeting, this is sort of what happens. A couple of key points is bullet point 3 details the overall length and organization of the meeting. As your Action Learning coach, you would say, okay, let's start off with maybe talking about bullet point 4 or past action steps that we promised we would take last week. And let's talk about sort of how we've been doing on them, how we feel that we've been doing on them. And then the Action Learning coach might say, okay guys, here are the 2 norms again. We're going to start with the problem presenter. They're going to tell us a little bit about what's going on. And then we're going to bring it to the group. We're going to talk a little bit about this problem a little bit more to sort of distill it. We're going to stop. We're going to see how our group is functioning. And then we're going to continue on. And so that sort of hits bullet point 3 and 4, just sort of briefly how a Action Learning coach might go about talking about it. Finally, bullet point 2, leadership characteristics. This method is founded on the idea that you use every moment of every possible workday to improve and grow people's ability to change and adapt and be effective in organizations. Meetings are one of those opportunities. And so what often happens in Action Learning is that you start the session with, okay, Bob, here are 7 leadership characteristics that define a good leader. How or what or which one do you want to work on to get better at during our meeting today? And Bob may say, okay, I want to get better at systems thinking. Or, oh, okay, I want to use this meeting as an opportunity to practice empathy. And as a result, given the number of checks that this meeting has, beginning, middle, and end, you can actually, as an Action Learning leader, develop those leadership skills. So here's more about the process. The problem presenter should not try to lead anybody on, but should really just describe, because part of this method is really distilling what actually is the problem, since we tend to solve the wrong problem sometimes in problem solving. The Action Learning coach will also continuously enforce and stop the group to enforce the 2 norms discussed earlier, unlike slide 1 or slide 2, I believe it was. And then oftentimes the Action Learning coach will stop in the midway. And what this would look like is something like, okay, let's stop. I want us to sort of talk about sort of how we're doing, how we're functioning as a group. So just in general, how do you guys think we're functioning as a group? And that's a question, and then they can respond with the statement. And then the Action Learning coach can be like, so Bob, how did you feel when Diane said this? Or how do you think we can sort of work on improving the situation here? Or other questions that really dive deep and sort of get people to think about just their overall group cohesion and functioning, and who's being included, who's not being included, who is being repressed in terms of their voice, etc. Again, this whole idea is that you stop in the middle so that you can get your group functioning better, and one of the ways you can get your group functioning better allows you to get more participation. And then at the end, you discuss action steps, growth on leadership. Sort of say, hey, Joey, how do you feel about what did you do during the meeting today to really work on systems thinking? Or you talk to the problems presenter and say, hey, problem presenter, was your problem solved? Uh, if not, what action steps do you think you can take to solve it? There are other questions you can ask too, but I'm trying to just give an idea of what this looks like. As should become clear in what I just said, the main characters in all of this is the action learning coach and the problem presenter. And the action learning coach you can actually think about as the facilitator of the group. They are the boss. They control if that group succeeds or fails. And just to talk a little bit about why we do this, the usefulness. You can include it in your meetings as a defined problem solving structure, but also it has this basis on this idea that organizations that don't change die. And so you really have to spend every moment contributing to the learning of your employees in organizations and the ability of your employees to demonstrate leadership and learning skills. And meetings are a place for that. And finally, define aspects of this meeting, the facilitator, asking questions, and pre-setting norms at the beginning can actually make most other meetings really beneficial and participatory and inclusive. So why not try it? The best way to try this is in a group of 4 to 8. Get together, appoint someone who is the problem presenter, appoint someone who is the action learning coach. And your goal here is to get individuals thinking and just even trying this, even if they mess up, just trying this multiple times with the provided script so that you can actually be really good at this over time. It requires practice. You don't get it right first, but keep switching problem presenters, keep switching action learning coaches, and keep doing different problems. And they can be very personally relevant problems like I'm not getting enough sleep at night, or I'm feeling sick, or I don't have a good relationship with my father, or whatever. It's really whatever you prefer.